Welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in. My intention is the highest levels of love, light, unity, consciousness, benevolence for all. I'm just going to roll into a little, maybe some light language. Got my fun little fuzzy background. And we'll see what wants to come through at a higher vibrational frequency. This is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. And I guess my intention will be for whatever's most needed for the collective in this now moment. And as we establish our new bandwidths, as we recognize that we are creating new bandwidths, as we recognize and reorganize and stabilize our frequencies, we find that our adjustments are happening very quickly, although sometimes we do not realize this very quickly. Sometimes it feels as if the stability that we are looking for and searching for is just out of reach, just over the next horizon. And yet we are constantly coming into the new horizon, moment by moment, making adjustments moment to moment. And this is momentous. We are truly coming into a new dominion, one might call it, that is being established by our very essence and ability to establish our own frequencies, to embody these frequencies in the best or to the best of our abilities. Many of us are learning how to juggle and create this new connection to our new connections. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very vast. And it is vast. And it is beyond what many of us feel capable of recognizing, acknowledging, accessing, balancing. And yet we assure you, we being the, I'm just seeing all of our team, the collective of higher dimensional energies and beings recognize you. We recognize you, for you are I'm seeing strings and sounds and vibrations, harmony and a symphony, one might call the human race. Although this race is not what we think it is. And so we continually have to reorganize our expectations and let go of the race, let go of the need to get there faster, stronger, and better, for we are already faster, stronger, and better. Yet many of us are not recognizing this, for we are hearing this old tunology play out. And as we tune into this old geometry system, I'm seeing the Dewey Decimal System play out. We start to feel at times decimated. We feel tired and let down. And yet this is part of the grieving process, for we are essentially letting go, and we are essentially morphing into this new collective symphony of the human. This is beyond an idea of what race is, for we are not just one color. We are not just one body. We are not just the body. We are a collective body of sounds and geometries and frequencies and emotions and thoughts. And yet within this collection, within this collective, we are all creating a new directive. And we are all at the same time directing our own individualization in such a way that it is difficult to convey and put into words. For how do you describe a symphony if you have not listened to one before? How do you describe the music of a beautiful composer if you have never listened to music? For you have not necessarily truly heard the music that you are creating. You have not necessarily truly tuned into your own musical architecture for this divine blueprint and spark and sparkle. And I'm literally seeing like a cymatic, I've talked about this before, is so sound. It is so strong that it is beyond the ability to orchestrate from one perspective in a particular direction. For we are all unfolding into a multidimensional exclamation point. This is a play on words. I'm seeing exclamation like animation. I'm seeing a point like a laser point. And I'm also seeing a point in time. Also, I'm seeing a direction. And I'm seeing when you point something out, you're recognizing it. For we have landed. We have created in this landing. We have landed on something bigger. For within this land that we exist within, we have come to realize that it is time to move out of division. And it is time to move back into a bigger vision. And many of us are holding this vision. We are holding on to this deeper sense of well-being. We are holding on to what one might refer to as faith. Faith in the human. Faith in the experience itself. Faith in the interaction and the beauty and recognition that we have when we look into another's eyes, when we hold hands with a loved one, when we hold a child in our arms, when we are communing with the animals, when we are feeling into the beauty that life has to show us. And this creates balance, for there is much that wishes to unseat us. There is much that wishes to unbalance us or to make us feel less than balanced. Yet when we retain, oh, this is a play on words, I'm going to come back to that. When we retain our own sense of self-awareness, when we recognize our own ability to recognize the humanity in me and you, when we begin to see that there is so much more than what is being played out in the mainstream, we begin to stream into the many different streams of consciousness that brings us into a higher view. It allows us to see through these green screens that are being projected at us, that are projecting at us traps, we might call them, ensnarements. And this is a play on words for we have become oftentimes ensnared in the recycle, in the patterns that are being recycled over and over again in hopes to pull us in hopes to regain the control that has now been lost. For many that have felt lost are actually feeling more at ease with who they really are. Many people are recognizing they are not who they have been told that they really are. So briefly, I'm seeing like a system saying, you are this, you must look like this, you must wear this, you must listen to this, and you must feel this way as you listen. And what I'm hearing is, we're hearing now. The ears have turned on for many. We listen to these messages and these voices, and we recognize that they are no longer compatible with the essence of truth. We recognize that we are no longer agreeing to the material that is being projected through the materialism, through the world of materialistic gain. For we have regained, apparently this is a key word right now, we have regained our own composure. Our own symphonic adjustments are being made. And just by us allowing these adjustments, allowing ourselves to feel into the truth of love and allowing that to saturate us, even if only for a moment, and a moment, and a moment, it allows us to coordinate. It allows us to make new coordinates on our map and create a new sense of coordination. We may feel clumsy at first, or the establishment that we were deeply rooted in. That's a play on words, by the way. I'm seeing we were embedded in this establishment. We put our roots down there, but that wasn't real. As that starts to get louder and louder in the hopes of disturbing our own sensibility, we tune into our own sensibility. And this allows us to out-tune the old symphony. So I'm being shown a band, and let's say we used to be part of that band, the garage band, right? And that's really what we've been playing with this whole time. Now we're ready to move to the big league. Now we are in the big league. We're actually kind of establishing these connection points and these frequencies and energies in such a way that we're creating this massive hum, this massive vibration. I posted a little poem on Instagram about this. It's like you can hear it. And when I say hear, you feel it. And when I say feel it, you sense it. And when I say sense it, you then recognize it and see it. What is it? It is this deeper frequency of trust. Again, what the guides refer to as faith, of renewal. And we then come back to a deeper sense of humanness, of humanity. What is that? It's compassion. It's helping one another. It's allowing another person to be who they choose to be without justice or shame, or I'm hearing like vindication. Like that's kind of a play on words. Some of us feel we need to be vindicated. And that's an old, perhaps, I'll come back to that. We're really being encouraged in these times to create our own sense of self-worth and to not allow others to tell us what our value is, to tell us why we need to do things in order to increase our value. For Our value as a human is so much more than we could ever understand in this lifetime. And so instead of looking for someone else to vindicate us or tell us our value, we are being called to hear the call of I'm hearing the call of the wild. What is it that's calling to us that we've always wanted to interact with and participate in, that brings up our sense of humanitarianism? Humanitarianism is that our sense of childlike wonder and our sense of freedom, our deeper sense of connection to the planet that we live on, to the planet that feeds us, to the other humans who are creating technology to assist us in our well-being, not the technology or well-being that we have been fed as truth, but the actual truth. And as we begin to recognize this and we begin to reunify with the actual truth, I'm seeing, like, again, going back to playing with our playing games with our family, like board games, not psychological games, gardening, breathing, participating in group activities in which we're all feeling a heightened sense of expansion. It could be a group yoga class, it could be group meditations, it could be Tai Chi, it could be, so those are the activities that we're being encouraged to participate in. And the activities that we felt perhaps drawn to before, we're being invited to really ask ourselves, whose agenda are we serving? For our bodies are truly going through an adjustment right now. Many of us are feeling the weight on our shoulders of our physical discomfort. We are feeling the weight on our shoulders of our family and friends suffering. We are feeling the weight of what one might call the world. And yet we are being called to recognize that we are the world. What's that song? We are the children, right? What is that song? We are the world, we are the children. We are being invited to remember and to let go of this idea that we must hold that burden, hold that weight. For when we begin to shift within and we find our own courage to ignite the internal flame of compassion, the internal flame of creativity and abundance, joy, bliss, and love, we begin to become that which it is we wish to see in the world, of the world, and we begin to make that world more of that. Therefore, the weight is evenly distributed, and we are able to hold so much more. We begin to absorb the shock, if you will, of that weight. And we begin to disrupt the patterns that are creating the shock. We begin to disrupt the old patterns that perhaps would seek to shock us. And we begin to shift and move with one another. We begin to let go of the need to force and forcefully place our own projections on another. We begin to see through the programming that is being pumped out through the airwaves, or this constant mirage that is being thrown at us everywhere we look and turn, is no longer holding the same control that it once did. For some of us, this makes us feel less in control, for we are being controlled less. Some of us have been very used to giving our power away, and that became the way that we walked in the world. And now we are feeling more into our own inner and innate power that once was feeding a cyclical pattern and now is no longer keeping us held within that same pattern. And this can make us feel as if we are not being held. This can make us feel less organized and scattered, for we are not being pushed and pulled in the same way. And so it feels more difficult, or it is easier to do what we are told in some situations. It is easier to walk in the old shoes or the shoes of old. It is easier to wear the same patterns out because they are comfortable, because they are known. And now we walk in new shoes and we are feeling the blisters and the blistering effect of these new shoes as if they are too big to fill. Yet we are full. We have the fullness of life and the cup that runneth over once we feel into the fullness of all that we are. The truth about humanity is that we are more than we have been told. And so as we regroup and readjust, we may be drawn to new people. We may be drawn to new places and new information. We may begin to find that the old information no longer holds the same value for us. We may find ourselves seeking out deeper revelations, maybe releve as well. We begin to feel less relief by tuning into the same shows and the same network. We begin to feel the need to network with others who share our same fill in the blanks. I'm seeing all of it. It's like I'm seeing people kind of like unplugging and then looking around and going, now what? Now who do I talk to? I've been watching the same show. I've been eating the same food. I've been believing the same stories. And that, for some reason, doesn't hold the same draw because we're drawing new cards. We've been given a whole new hand, literally. We have new energies coming through and pouring out of us and pouring into us. And so the way in which we access these energies and this information and the way that we feel about it is changing how we view the world. And in essence, how we view ourselves, of course. And so we are being invited to stabilize the best that we can. And that is all we can. Play on words. I'm seeing all we can. All of us can do that to the best of our abilities. And if we allow ourselves to, I'm being shown, follow through with, if you want to reach out to that person who might need a little extra help because they're sad, you want to bring him a flower or give him a card or give him a hug, there's just all these little things that add up to all of us. If we all did that, we picked up that trash on the ground that we saw, we opened the door for the person in front of us, we offered to help that older person at the grocery store, grocery shop, because they have a walker and they can't push the basket. It might take a few extra minutes, but maybe it's our day off. We're being called to do what's in our heart. And if all of us do that, we all can. I'm hearing can. We all add to the dance, right? And as we all dance together in this new way of being, it will take some time to adjust to this new way of being. And so we are being called to practice. We're being called to practice patience and observation before we react, before we reenact old patterns. We are being called to focus on the center of our own well-being and the center of our own story that we are co-creating, rather than the old story that we have been reading over and over and over again, retelling. That was the story told to us by a program, not necessarily the story of our true ancestors. So now is the time to feel into those stories and begin to write our own, so that we may pass this down to our children, children's children. For many of us have lost the traditional beauty of storytelling. We begin to tell our ancestors how we found compassion during these difficult times, and how others gave us compassion and what that did to change our lives. For we all walk the walk as we all walk in this difficult time together. We begin to sow the seeds of forever, for this is forever, the generation of change. This will be spoken about in years to come. This will be shared, and we will look back in wonder and awe and say, I did that. We did this. We came together when it seemed impossible. For not is all as it seems. And we will begin to learn this as that was held together at the seams comes undone. We will begin to learn. We will begin to teach. We will begin anew in a new view for what and who we truly are, as we express from our truth of inner humanity, an inner humanism in which we clear out false conformity. We no longer conform to a society that does not allow ourselves to feel compassion, appreciation for our existence. For we do exist in a whole new world. And Mother Earth is going through it too. And yet she celebrates with me and you as she rebirths and renews her own cellular structure. And we are part of this, for nothing is disconnected truly from source. Nothing is non or not connected. We are intrinsically and infinitely interwoven in each other's experiences. All matter. For in this physical form, we are creator beings. We create in this physical form. We create our reality from one perspective. So we end on this note and seek to remind everybody that in the false front of division, in the false ideology of revision based on an old system, we are not, I'm just being shown so much. We are not incapable. We are all capable, more than capable. I'm seeing capes like heroes, wearing our own cape. I'm going to end on that note, all you beautiful humans out there. I'm just sending out a wave of love and appreciation for all of us, co-creating together in love and light. Namaste.